St. Paul's, and welcome to another SPL Missions Moment. I am Dr. Jennifer Wilson, one of the co-chairs of our Missions Committee, and today I'm excited to introduce you to our new partner in missions. This is the Oak Ridges Hospice. Oak Ridges Hospice is a community-based hospice in Port Perry that provides compassionate care and support for those who are in the last days of their life. This hospice serves every community in the region of Durham and offers a much-needed alternative to institutional care and home care. Oak Ridges Hospice is a tranquil, home-like residence where a dedicated team of specially trained medical, nursing, support staff, and volunteers provide care and comfort at no cost to the resident or their loved ones. Your Missions Committee has decided to become partners with Oak Ridges Hospice for two main reasons. Firstly, palliative care is such a great opportunity for Christians to manifest God's unfailing love for the terminally ill and the dying. And secondly, there are many volunteer opportunities here at the hospice that our congregation could consider participating in. So let's step inside and meet Dr. Steve Russell, a member of our congregation and the visionary behind this remarkable facility. Come on in. Dr. Russell. Is it okay if I call you Steve?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So here we are in this beautiful hospice, and I was looking on your website and noticing that you quote Dame Cicely Saunders, the famous Anglican nurse who started the hospice movement originally. Now, she advocated for the care of the whole person, their emotional, their physical, and their spiritual needs. Tell us a little bit about that, why you quote her and how you look after the whole person here at the hospice.
Yeah, Cicely Saunders was a real visionary. As you mentioned, she was a nurse, but then she also trained as a social worker and finally became a physician. And this was in the United Kingdom. And she really pressed the healthcare system to start considering the whole person in the care of people who have a terminal illness. And she focused on the fact that even when there's not a hope of a cure, there is still a great deal of care that can be given. And this care was in various domains. So she focused on, first of all, the dignity of the person. So the person has a name, the person's part of a family, a set of friends, they have a life story. Let's embrace and celebrate that. Secondly, respect. The person with the illness should be part of the decision-making in terms of their medical care. And the family should be involved in that, and all decisions should be run through the person and their family. So that's respect for decision making. And finally, the care that's given should be given with love and compassion. So instead of the scientific model of pursuing cure at all costs, this is love and compassion at all costs. So no matter what the circumstance, providing that compassionate care. So she's been an inspiration for the hospice movement actually across the world, certainly in Canada, now in Ontario, and a heavy influence on Oak Ridges Hospice. Yeah. We're talking about whole person care. We actually have a spiritual room here that functions as a chapel. Let's go down the hall and we'll visit there now.
Sounds great. So Steve, I can recall a time about 15 years ago when we were at the bedside of a patient and you shared your vision for this hospice with me. Can you take a moment and just tell us a little bit about what it feels like to see that vision become a reality?
Yeah, it's been a long, long journey. But certainly initially it seemed like a monumental task. Hospice care was a new thing in Ontario. Started about 2005, and they were rolling it out across the province, and they invited interest in Durham region. There was a lack of leadership in that realm, and so they approached me about taking it on. And so we had years of meetings, lobbying government, meeting with potential donors, and we really just couldn't get any traction. The whole project amounted to about $9 million, and that was a huge sum to raise within the community. And because the government only partially funds it, it was really up to the community. So there were times during the journey when I thought, man, what have I got myself into? I'm in over my head. And actually, I got to a point where we just weren't making any progress several years in, and I thought, I need to give up on this. If God wants me to do it, he'll make it happen or call me into it, but I'm ready to give up. And it was just shortly after that I got a phone call in my office, a message from a philanthropist who's a businessman in the Pickering area. And he said, I hear you want to build a hospice and I want to support you. Would $2 million help? And I'm like, yes, let's get together for coffee. This is amazing. And so I met Kevin Morgan and his friend Dave Sidhu, and they offered up $2 million and they became our founding donors. We recruited some other very skilled people onto our board, and suddenly things really started to move ahead. We met with government officials. They started giving us approvals for the project. And after that point, it just felt like God paved the way. Things just fell into place. This Catholic school closed because of lack of enrollment. We bought the property. We demolished the school. We hired architects and started designing the facility. And just as we were breaking ground, the pandemic hit. And once again, I thought, there's no way we can pull this off. This is a terrible moment. But God came through and we got the funds that we needed. We got the right people managing the project. And here we are. For me, it's like a dream has come true. And it's because when I gave up, God stepped in and showed me the way. So we've really just followed the work that he's put before us, and we've come to this place. So it's really a joy to be working here now and helping people.
So Steve, we know as Christians we're called to show hospitality. In fact, in Romans, it speaks about showing hospitality to God's people who are in need. Can you tell us a little bit about how we as a congregation could support you in your desire to show hospitality to those who are in their last days or to their family members who are here supporting them?
Sure. You know, all through the years that I've been involved in this project, I've been thinking about the parable of the Good Samaritan and how the fellow is taken to an inn where he's cared for, his wounds are bandaged. And I keep thinking about that inn and what that represents, and the innkeeper who ran that place, and that this fellow dropped off a bag of money and said, whatever it takes to look after my poor wounded friend here, I'll pay for it. It's all paid for. And that's the vision of the hospice, that the care is all paid for. And that's an example of this extravagant love of the Father for his people. And so I think hospice care provides the opportunity to show that love and compassion in every measure, so that we're contributing to the care of people who really are in a tough place. So hospitality takes many different forms here. Our volunteers work at the reception desk. They help out in the administrative offices. They help with direct patient care in some manner. They also provide companionship. They provide music. They read books to people. There's also an element of fundraising that's required, so we need volunteers to help with fundraising enterprises. And people with special skills will sometimes bring those special skills to volunteer here at the hospice. So there's many different ways in which people can serve, and it's really about being welcoming, being warm, being friendly to people who are in a tough spot. Usually visitors are arriving with a mixture of emotions. They're anxious, they're worried, they're dealing with grief, and they can feel overwhelmed. And what they need is a welcoming face, a warm heart, a friend who can show them the way. And so that's what our volunteers represent.
Well, Steve, our missions committee is so excited that St. Paul's Leasdale is going to be one of your hospice partners. That means every quarter we will provide some financial support so that you can fulfill the mission of this hospice. Can you explain to our congregation why these financial partnerships are so important to the work here?
Sure. Hospices across Ontario are only partially funded by the government, so they rely on community partners to come alongside each hospice and provide financial assistance. And in fact, that's not just for building the building, but for operating funding year over year. The argument the government puts forth is it invites engagement by community members. They notice that the general public contributes more, not just through funds, but also efforts in volunteering. And there's a community ownership of the hospice that really fuels the work of the hospice. We've seen that here, that local folks have been very generous in supporting us, generous with their time as well as their funds. And St. Paul's coming on board as a partner really is a boost for us, for our morale, and for the feeling that we're serving our community. And we've got partners alongside us.
Well, we want to thank you so much, Steve, for sharing your heart, your testimony, and the vision of this incredible facility. It is a real privilege for St. Paul's to come alongside you and provide tangible support through finances, through volunteerism, to help you fulfill this mission. And in fact, this place may become important to many of us and our loved ones in the future. So thank you for your time, and thank you for welcoming us as a partner today.
Well, this gives me a chance to thank you on the missions committee and representing St. Paul's congregation for coming alongside us and supporting us generously. And it's a great example of the St. Paul's community members getting involved in things that are happening in their local area. So we really embrace it. Thanks.
Thanks so much.